Welcome to the Politricks Watch. This is RP. Now, this might not come as a major shock to you, but the country where celebrate dunceness and dunce is cool, dunce is trendy, is in the lower percentile of an international study carried out by the OECD. That's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Ironman students are lingering in the lower part of the table. What we really want to talk about this is, in the study, in the news article, they make sure Adina part say poverty cannot be the reason, because countries that are as poor and poorer outperform Ironman. When we see that, maybe I have to talk about this. I have to talk about this because without that part, what them would have said because Jamaican students are so poor and the ghetto so poor and the poverty, and now we're seeing the researchers and the people who do the studies actually point out the fact say, no, poverty is not the golden excuse when you used to get right off of. Because it's not 5 countries in the world. I'm sorry to break this to you. The world is not Jamaica, Cayman, Canada, UK and US. That's not the world. Right. Roughly about 200 countries. And if something has a causal effect on something else, then you'll see it repeated all around the world. Right. Every time Jamaicans want to escape accountability, they turn to the boogeyman, poverty. See, apart from bad mining scammers fighting against artists, making up things to get views, making struggle documentaries, right? One thing I've been doing over the years, trying my hardest though, is one of the hardest things you can ever do. And it's to change a false narrative. When something has been ingrained in a society's mind, you to come along and change it, especially when time people don't, see you as somebody who, that them instantly take talk from, like some doctor of something from, my university there, right, where Billy Joe run. It's very difficult. And 50 years from now, when it is completely annihilated, right, they're going to probably rewrite history. But we in our trenches, and we not stop dig until we get to the core. We get to the core, we can finally destroy many of these rubbish narratives. Jamaica's poverty is not unique. Jamaica's poverty does not even register on the poverty scale on the global level. Why Jamaica top the murder charge every year? Poverty. Because Cockburn Pen have a level of poverty that people have never seen. Like, the world is like flabbergasted. Cockburn Pen is like, Tivoli Gardens is like right up there in the sufferation list. It's rubbish, it's false narrative. Jamaica is nowhere near as destitute as people make it out to be. But when they want to explain why Ironman underperform in this field, poverty. Why education? Poverty. Crime? Poverty. Why the road them can't clean up? Poverty. Why the gold them looks so poverty? In a school them talk about the golden rule, but that's a golden excuse. Now, luckily for Ironman, they only tested 81 countries. It's not even the whole world. So, because some countries missing on the list, I know them countries right, take education well serious. Right. So, I'm say luckily for Ironman, there's 81 countries them look and study. And this also debunks the idea that richer country equal better performing schools. You're going to see some countries that are quote unquote rich that are doing well. We are going to see countries that are quote unquote rich not doing well. So it's not an automatic. This is another thing people tell themselves feel better. The reason why me never do this in a school, or my people don't do this in a school, because they're not rich. That's simply not true. Go to the quote unquote top schools in Ironman and you will see ghetto youths there. Middle class people there. None of the schools them only claims are just rich people go there. Alright, this is a myth. Cope. I went to one of these schools that are supposedly quote-unquote top schools, right? And I remember very well the type of students, right, what we used to go to school with. Most of us, right, were hovering in either the lower, right, or middle, right, of the socioeconomic spectrum. Yes, of course, they were rich kids, because I am quote-unquote top school there. But from grade 7, first day turn up, right, them turn up already gifted, right, from primary school, from prep school, them just turn up 7th grade gifted. Two of the biggest things that help children do well or not so well in school, 2 words will sound similar: aptitude and attitude. Aptitude and attitude. People are trying to rewrite history, right, and reshape concepts, right, to suit, right, their agendas. Aptitude is the natural ability to do something. That's innate in you. People have a higher level of aptitude for it. This is why one child who excels in a this struggles in a that. Doesn't mean that the child is quote unquote dunce. It just means they have a lower aptitude for that. When you start figure out them thing there and stop force pitney down channels and the make for, right, and stop make other pitney who have the competence, right, think say being smart is lame and some nerd thing, then when you start see better performing students. Poor pitney at ACE exam from what we kill for them. There are entire organizations who do nothing but look for children from lower income background who, right, are very talented and fund them way through school. Right. Give them scholarships and all kind of things. Right. Aptitude and attitude is way more important than socioeconomic level. This is 2024, not 1940. In 1940, right, all half of the whole country can't go to school, and the other half will go, right, a barefoot them go. This is not them time there. Jamaica is not poorer now than it was in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So we're going to look on it. I'll go through it. You see what I realize is, right, when Jamaicans want to travel, then basically go to the big three, right, UK, US, Canada. That's all most Jamaicans interested in, especially USA. Broaden your horizons. This is why you think Jamaica's poverty is unique. And when you go to other countries that are not a part of the big three, if you really want to see what's going on, you have to left the tourist spot them, because every country, the tourist spot them are the most glamorous. So you go to other countries and go, boy, look how them places are nice. No, them places have ghetto too. Them places have inner city too. Poverty is not unique. It's not unique to Ironman. It's not unique to Denantown. It's not unique to Marchpen Road. It's actually a fact that even in Jamaica, rural Jamaica, the most forgotten places in Jamaica, the least developed places in Jamaica, places where they don't even know what murder look like, are way poorer than the inner cities of Kingston. But nobody sings songs about that. When people sing songs about garden, Rima, jungle, Spain, that's all you hear about. And people craft them quote unquote knowledge off of what them hear in a song. I've never in my life go anywhere in the Ironman. And I doubt the average person listening to this has been to more, quote unquote, bad man place in a city, whatever you want to call it, than me. Because most people just go which part they come from. And go where they know. I've never seen 140, 50 Jamaican pitney sit down upon a roadside, broad daylight, with flyer name them. Flyer in them eye. I've never seen that in Jamaica. And I go, a foreign country go see that. And every time I inquire about them country there, how the murder situation look, how the gang situation look, no, we don't have them problem there. When you look on this stuff, how them country have such low murder rate and pitney sit down on the roadside with flying at them eye. This is what people think happen when a Cockburn pen, you know. People think say when a Cockburn pen, right, there's like 500, right, get a youth sit down on one corner right, would fly and eat out their ears. I've seen them things in other countries. Countries that are nowhere near as acidic as Ireland. Fly. Sit down and dig out pitney eye, you know. Water will run out of your eye. You see them things are normal. How pitney feel still up on the roadside and fly and them out them eye. And other people, it's so normal to the people in the country that they just walk past it. I was astonished. This is why I go so hard against the Ironman. Poverty is the reason why Ironman top murder charge. You don't know what poverty look like, man. Go anywhere in Jamaica and you'll see. Go even at the ghetto, you will see say, ghetto youths clean in the streets. Poverty me I talk about. People couldn't look clean even if they wanted to be clean. You have this idea say youth from around a jungle. Just have one brief and one marina for their whole life. Get your youths clean. First when time I touch the streets, stop it, man. You know what I talk about. Fresh, bossy. So, I'm going to show you the article. Then I'm going to show you some actual data. It does sound now weird. This study, right, was looking at mathematics, the sciences, and reading. I love that, you know why? Because these are universal concepts that are less tainted and them apply everywhere. What I mean by tainted? Subjects like economics, history, sociology, wokeology, right? These are tainted. Depending upon where in the world, depending upon the region they come from, depending upon the country, depending upon the government in power, these subjects are liable to get twisted and turned in all kinds of different directions. This is why there are so many different school of thoughts for these subjects. Within economics, within sociology, there's 15, 20 different school of thoughts, and all of them, right, are expert. 15 different people will tell you the 15 different ways how economies must run. And all of them have a PhD. And all of them, right, just exist at once. Mathematics, right, is universal. There is no country in the world where 5 plus 5 isn't 10. These are universal concepts. So if you're going to judge the globe, you have to judge universal subjects. Because subjects like history is taught differently in America from what it start in UK, from what it start in Canada, from what it start in Jamaica, from what it start in Ghana, from what it start in Nigeria, from what it start in China. History and them subjects, they're tainted. I'm not saying don't go to school, go study history. Right? Don't turn my words around. I'm just saying understand, right, say throughout the history of time, right, how some of these subjects became what they are. There's a bit of sprinkling of dust in some of them. Some of them, right, people, governments, right, organizations, right, chip out the piece here, ignore the piece here, add on the part here, and just so you go. But maths are maths. I must say 5 plus 5 are 10 everywhere. Newton's first law of motion are the same everywhere. A body are going to remain in a state of rest or uniform motion unless an external force act on it. Right? That not change whether in an Ironman, right, or in a Spain. We don't even speak the same language, but that remains the same. Less feelings are involved in these subjects. I know I'm telling already. We know we're human beings who have feelings, but too much feelings lead astray. I also love this because these are my favorite subjects in school. These are the subjects I excel at. Assuming I went to school, because technically, them said me never go to school. But even from school days, how I speak now, how I am now is exactly how I was in school. I used to question my teachers. I found mathematics the easiest of all subjects. It was my favorite subject. It just came natural to me. Mathematics is not just about numbers, it helps with reasoning a lot and other things. If you're strong at mathematics, you will see it actually help you in other areas in life, not just numbers. But even in school, I'd question my teacher. I would say, but if this is this, then that doesn't make no sense. And I would ask my teachers, then that makes sense. And sometimes they will tell me straight up, I agree with you, but at that the curriculum say, that the syllabus say, that the book say. So who I am now, when you see me question things and say, that doesn't make no sense, and I don't care if you're not a scholar, I don't care what your textbook say, that does not make any sense. Right? That is a fallacy. That's how I was from school days. So, let's check the story from the blast. It look like them get it from RJR. Right? See them talk RJR. Right. But I go through it. Pick out the key part of them. It said the findings of a study by the Program for International Student Assessment has highlighted the concerning state of Jamaica's education system, ranking the country's students as below average. Below average. They assess the knowledge and skills of 15-year-old students in maths, reading and science internationally. Let me say over 80 countries them tests. He said the findings indicate a damning reality with students falling below the OECD average score of 472 to 485. That's the average. That's the average score. So if we were hitting 472 on them numbers there, we'd be average. The highest average score is for reading, which is an overall ranking of 53, paired with a 410 average score. In contrast, the lowest score is reflected for mathematics, with an average score of 377 or 67th placing overall, 67 out of 81. Meanwhile, the Jamaican students accumulated an average score of 403 or a ranking of 61 for science. So we're 61 out of the 81 for the sciences, 67 out of 81 for maths, and 53 out of 81 for reading. In all three, below average. Overall, the country managed a score of 397 or 68th place. So overall, Ironman is 68 out of the 81. It goes on to state that Ironman is in company with 10 of the lowest ranked countries, including Cambodia. Ironman is down there with Cambodia. If you know Cambodia, you know about the history of Cambodia and their civil wars and all kind of madness. That is a country that has suffered turmoil after turmoil after turmoil. Whatever you think Ironman got through pales in comparison to the history of Cambodia. So Ironman is down there with a group that includes Cambodia, for them score of 337, and Palestine of 361. Ironman is down there with Palestinian children. Palestinian children that spend them whole life, man, hearing gunshot and rocket fire. Man, from actual wars, not Klansman versus one other war, but actual wars. So Ironman children are lingering down there with Palestinian children. Palestinian children who it is very normal for us to see all one whole row of building just level flat. Right, that's who Ironman down there with. As the benchmark, the top 5 countries include Singapore, Macau, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, which all have an average score in the mid to low 500s. So Singapore, Macau, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea gone over 500. This is where the stereotype comes from that Asians are very bright. The OECD data, not OECD feelings, indicate that a smaller proportion of Jamaican students than on average across the 37 participating countries were top performers at level 5 or 6. The lowest ranking in at least one subject. Listen to this. You say it get spooky now. Mr. Poverty Blamer, you ready for that one? The study also concluded that Jamaica's students were not at a disadvantage, as equally low-income economies like Vietnam scored much higher. Vietnam. It also showed that the girls outperform the boys in Ironman, in maths and reading, and this is the opposite, right, for no other country, right, 40 odd countries, not the test. But tell them saying in Ironman, women, females have a higher literacy rate. Remember the narrative where them pick up from Uncle Sam, because remember most of these so-called human rights groups and this and that, all they do is copy what them hear from Uncle Sam place, even if it don't apply. See, in Ironman, females have a higher literacy rate than men. Ironman is one of the few countries in the whole world where your boss is most likely to be a female. Ironman is a mama's boy society. The idea that Jamaican men, right, are colluding to make Jamaican females, right, suffer in school and can't go to school, and the oppression, this is a false narrative. Jamaican women are a majority of the population and they are the minority of murder victims. They live longer, they do better in schools. This idea that the Jamaican female is the most oppressed and butchered and slaughtered, and this is not the case. When they talk about femicide rate, they're ignoring the fact that there's also a whole heap of women involved in a gang activity. And when time them get killed, it also get counted as quote-unquote femicide. They put no context to that femicide statistic. Listen to this now. 31% of students in Jamaica reported they were not satisfied with their lives. 31%, that actually sounds kind of low. I was expecting much worse. Now, whatever argument you're going to come up with for excuse, because that's all they're good at, making excuses, it should apply to the whole world. But because of Big C, the whole world is locked down on a Big C. So Ironman overall score was 397. Let's look at some of the countries who beat Ironman. This is shambolic. Moldova. Are you kidding me? Moldova. In terms of economy, Moldova is more or less the same as Ironman. However, their students are doing much better. Moldova. Okay. Give them that one there. Let's look at this list. Let's go further up the list. Forget about Moldova. Let's go way up the list. Let's look at the Vietnam that they mentioned before. Vietnam, 467. Vietnam, the same Vietnam was still can't recover from the war where them go through. Right? That country that was bombed to smithereens. Right? That country where, yeah, you know about Vietnam, right? Where Pitney still have born with all kind of deformities because the amount of napalm they drop in a bush. Is that Vietnam? Right. Look on your screen. It's right up there beside Norway and Italy and Spain. See, Vietnam is 467 and Spain, Italy, all of them are like 470 something. See, France are 478, Germany are 4. So they're not far away from Vietnam. Vietnam. When the poverty argument dead, man. Vietnam GDP per capita is lower than Jamaica. Right. The poor regions of Vietnam are poorer than Jamaica. These are facts. Put your feelings aside. If you don't want to see picnic sit down on the roadside, look like them now have them more than 3-4 days, go certain parts of Ho Chi Minh City. And Vietnam is up there beside Norway. Norway is one of the countries that people use as the archetype for what a country should be. Norway is like the poster child, right, for quote-unquote well-run country, for quote-unquote developed country, right, for a successful country. Norway is one of the poster children them. Vietnam, they're right beside of them. So your poverty argument dead. And because if they have more money, they could have put more money, spend all the money you want. Every time something comes, the next thing is always because see what it needs is more money. Vietnam, Turkey, 461. More to look on something else. The UAE. Since you love that about, oh money man, once a country rich. The UAE, one of the richest countries in the whole world. Romania is above them. Just to get them foot. But for these countries, right, barely. Right. start up on them foot. Moldova, what I'm telling you, say, has a similar economic situation to Ireland. 2 places below the UAE. The Ukraine is above the UAE. So we see it's not just money. Now, when we look on the country them we perform worse than Ireland, because there are some, all the countries that perform much worse than Ireland in this test don't have a high murder rate problem. So there you go. And I already told you that wouldn't make sense because in Ireland, when Jamaica had a murder rate lower than the United States, Jamaica's illiteracy rate was in the 40s. Does that? And I already shown the data that when Ireland had a murder rate lower than the United States, very few Jamaicans could read and write properly, much less at a high level. But the country wasn't known for no high murder rate then. And the countries now that Ireland beat in education don't have the high murder rate. Let's look at the country at the bottom of this list. Cambodia. They performed the worst. Cambodia's homicide rate 2017 was 2.4 per 100k. The same 2017, Jamaica's murder rate was 58.65. Another country that performed worse than Ireland is the country called Jordan. Not the basketball player, but Jordan. Jamaican students performed much better than the Jordan students. Jordan's homicide rate in 2021 was 1 per 100k. See that on your screen? You can look back from 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, so you can see. So you can see this country averages around 1 per 100k murder rate. For comparison, the same year, Canada murder rate was 2.1 per 100k. So Jordan, a country that is not as economically developed as Canada, woke Canada, who scored very high in this test, so they have better education, better everything, but Jordan have a better murder rate. Why are these people not killing themselves in crazy high numbers? Remember, poverty caused it, Poverty caused it. You want to hear our next country that Ireland beat? Saudi Arabia. Yes, Jamaica performed better than Saudi Arabia. Oil-rich Saudi Arabia, finished below Ireland in this study. Saudi Arabia. So I think when they say money make once the country have money, then then money equals better education and money equals this and money equals that. It's much deeper than that and much more complex. This is why I'm telling you, when it comes down to these matters, simpletons have a step aside, because complex matters cannot be discussed by simpletons. I'm not trying to offend nobody, but if we're having a foot race, then you have to say, listen, you too slow, you can't run. We have to start put feelings aside. If we're having a race, if we're trying to send a team to the Olympics, we're going to have to tell people, say, you just can't, you run 22 seconds over 100 meters, I'm sorry, but you cannot represent the country. These are complex matters being tackled by popular simpletons. This is why I warn against making your favorite DJ set the narrative. When you see other countries, when you see the Japanese and these countries, when you see people talking, it's the thinkers in the country who set the narrative. In the United States and them country, Ireland and them country, it's the popular folk, the celebrities who set the narrative. In academics, in our Uncle Sam place, Asian students outperform white students, Latino students, black students, and one of the reasons for this, them realize is because Asians put education before even food, it look like. Right? They don't compromise. And again, I talk about a certain part of Asia. They don't compromise when it comes down to education. The leeway that we give our children, right, they not give it them. Their children are put under high, right, pressure to perform right from the go. From the picnic and walk, a time for you start. Get smart. Which, as I said, the list is fascinating, right, because it is so widespread. If you look at Estonia gone over 500. Estonia beat Canada. Estonia beat Switzerland. As I say, richer country equal better performing country. This list blow it out the water. Then beat New Zealand, then beat Belgium, then beat Austria, then beat America, then beat the UK, then beat Germany, France, Estonia. Interesting stuff. Now I can't make the video done without offending you some more. Earlier on, I telling you, say, it's no surprise that a country that idolized dunceness, right, is struggling in the lower percentile. Now for the country that me see on this list, right, I'm surprised them people can't read at all, because the amount of war going on in them place, I'm not talking about gang war. I'm not talking about man kill man, the man come kill a man 3 more days. I mean war. Right, I'm surprised them people even do nothing at all in school. Now for these countries have real solid excuses for them not do well. But in Ireland, being dunce is cool. Culturally, we celebrate dunce. But we tell the people them say they must be smart. They say, oh, you don't mean this, you mean this. You don't mean, even though I say dunce, you don't really mean this. What it really mean is this. Rubbish. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. When you keep calling yourself dunce, when you keep pumping the word dunce, and the word dunce become normalized, then dunce activity is the name of the game. And from as long as I can remember, in Ireland, me see this in Uncle Sam place though. Being smart is not cool. That's going back to the whole Asian thing. This is a phenomenon I observed looking at the two cultures then, between Western culture and Asian culture. In Asian culture, the Japanese youth them were smart, them are the cool kids. Kids who do well in school are the cool kids. In the Western region, Jamaica, America, Trinidad, being bright is often equated to being lame. Let's be honest, no woman now run down no quote unquote bright nerd. In the West, it's the cool kids who is often the most troublesome and idle students who are the coolest, which gives an incentive to underperforming in school, gives an incentive to being rowdy in school, because now, I mean, let's be honest, kids want to be cool, kids want to be accepted. And how do you become cool? Not by being a quote-unquote nerd. Not in Ireland. And a culture where being a quote-unquote nerd equal being the last to get picked. Here's some more youth interested in now. It is so bad. We have smart children acting dunce to fit in. Let me repeat myself. We have smart children, gifted students who go out of them way to act quote-unquote dunce to fit in. Many Jamaican students lower their standards to fit in with their less talented, underperforming colleagues because them say, socially, it work out better for them. Socially. In their teenage circles, being the bright kid might actually hold you back in social circles. It is the child who can rise above this and say, well, actually, I don't want to fit in your low standards. That's who avoid it. But the child who is talented but don't have the headspace, we say, you know what, I'm not follow back only because I I don't make cause I don't know. Like me lower mine. Enough kids simply want to fit in. Teachers can tell you this. Gifted students all of a sudden start power with 2-3 youth, and suddenly a gifted student don't know A from bullfoot. And just last semester was one of the best students in the class, and him start power them people there. So guess what happens? When you have a crew with be idle youths, and then you have a quote unquote bright youth who go power with them, he doesn't drag them up, they drag him down. Because he has to try and fit in. They don't try and fit in with him. They don't suddenly become A students to fit in with him. He becomes a D student to fit in with them. Enough reasons why people not do well in a school. When you think beyond the poverty. Many moons ago, whole heap of people, 50 to 60% who knows how high, simply never go school at all. Because they have to stay home and go tie out goat. And them not go school at all. That happens now in Harriman, way less. But these children now are going to school, they're just not doing well. The reasons why are complex. But they are reduced to something simple. Poverty. Just need more money. You know much youths in a school, them parents give them lunch money every day and then they're gone away. You know much youths in a school, parents that are foreigner send down US, Canadian, pound, to give them to go school and then they're gone away. Them parents send down the bossiest clerks for them wear September morning and then they're gone away. We need to stop making simpletons lead the society. These are complex subjects. These are complex matters. And before the video ends, I have to say this. One of the big reasons why enough people fail in a school and in a life is because them parents force them to be who they wish they were. And they're really offended them now. Meaning the parents did want to be something. Them never make it for whatever reason. And then push them pitney in it. And the child has no aptitude for it. And instead of making the child go into a field where them actually make for, they continue to force the child down their road, meaning the road that them didn't want to go but couldn't go. Or maybe them go down the road and them want the child follow them. So now the child is lingering in the land of the mediocre, struggling as hell in this particular field, doing these particular subjects. And now it look like the child quote unquote done. When in reality, that's not what I'm supposed to do. Enough parents mash up enough pitney. That's why enough found secretly resenting the parents and walk around and talk about because of stress and no, you don't hate society, you hate your mother and your father. Because deep down you know who lead you astray. You know that field you're struggling in, right, is not what you really want to do. But please, mommy and daddy, you're going to do it. And now, your whole life turn upside down. In school, mathematics, sciences came easy to me. That was my teacher's biggest problem with me, trying to motivate me. It came too easy. However, when it comes on to things like drawing, right, I couldn't draw to save my life. If me to get forced into drawing, I would have been written off as a dunce. Stop force picking on me in the make for. Maybe some of them will do better. Anyway, Patreon squad, big up on yourself. PIA, you don't know, more life. Ultra squad, stay clean. Bless.